Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I'm going through everything that I read in May, which was actually much better quantity-wise than any other month this year, which is not saying much. So let's get into it. So I read 6 books this May, and honestly, I have been having a really hard time reading a lot of books this year. I'd be able to read 6 books like no problem, but since I've been pregnant, it just is not happening. Just preoccupied, but this was a good reading month quantity-wise. Quality-wise, so I've got a lot of thrillers here. I'm gonna save the thrillers to the end because I've decided to rank them in order of like least to most favorite. So first, we're going to start with Kate Morton's The Clockmaker's Daughter. This came out in October of last year, and I just only read Kate Morton in the spring and summer. There's just something about her writing. That said, after reading this, I can understand why the marketing team over at Simon & Schuster did decide to release this in October. Like most of the time, she is not a fall read. But this is a ghost story. Unfortunately, the blurb about this book does not mention in any way, shape, or form that it is a ghost story. And some people might consider that me even saying this is a ghost story would be a spoiler. I don't think so at all. I think this was like marketed kind of wrong, like the blurb at least, because the blurb says this is about a group of young artists that go to this house in rural England for a month to like create art. In the end, gunshots ring out, one woman is killed, another disappears. And that is true, that is partly what it's about, but that happens at the very end, like last 100 pages. And this is a chunky book. It's nearly 500 pages. So what Kate Morton does in this book is really play with time. She is definitely someone who's always done that in her books. She goes back and forth in time, and we follow different characters in different time periods. For me, this really, it didn't work for me, if I'm being perfectly honest, because there were too many narrators. And there were many narrators that didn't have much of a point, like why they were there, why their story was being told. I didn't understand really what the point of them was. That sounds bad. And because there were so many narrators, and she would you'd start to dive into a narrator and start to really care about them sometimes. And then you flip to someone else. I didn't always really feel anything. The only person I felt for was the ghost. So that was a shame. Loved that there was a ghost. She's incredibly atmospheric. I'll always give her that. She really sets the scene in a lovely way, and it was a cozy read. Like, I was not upset picking this up. That was not it at all. It was just that I just didn't care about all of these narrators, and I didn't usually know why we were hearing from them whatsoever. So I gave it 3 stars. And it's going off of my shelves. So this is the second Kate Morton that has landed on my shelves and has gone. So I didn't like The Forgotten Garden, and I didn't love this either. But then you'll read other ones that you just love. The Secret Keeper was great. The Lake House was great. So you just never know, I guess. But I do like that I read a Kate Morton every spring. It makes me feel good. So I'll continue doing that. But yeah, this one is going to go. I can't say that I'd really recommend it. Especially if you're starting with Kate Morton, do not start here. Please don't do that. Read The Lake House. Read The Secret Keeper. yeah, just start somewhere else if you can. Next is Emma by Jane Austen. I listened to this on audio. I'm a little bit concerned about this because I chose an audio of this book that was like a BBC version, and it had all of these different narrators, which was lovely, but I'm a little bit afraid that I didn't read the unabridged version. Like, I'm afraid that I read or listened to a version of Emma that was not actually Emma. So what I listened to, I felt was okay. Like, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I did find Emma herself really annoying. That's probably the point of her, is to be slightly annoying. But I will probably in the future reread this and make sure that I get the unabridged version, because there was so much dialogue in that version that I just missed a lot. So I'm going to say that I read it because it was a long audio. So there is that. But I'm probably going to read it again in the future. That said, I gave it 4 stars. I do love a good Jane Austen, so that was good. I also read Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown. And it says, this is the quest for true belonging and the courage to stand alone. I'm really glad that I read this. This came to me at a really good time because I had just put up my video about the major concerns that I have about the anti-abortion movement that's going on in the States, and the rhetoric, the same kind of rhetoric that's happening here in Canada. And I got a lot of backlash. I got lovely comments as well, so I don't want to say I only got backlash, because I really didn't. A lot of you have been feeling the same way. But yeah, I did get a lot of backlash, and it was interesting because a lot of people would just be like, I'm unsubscribing. That's the end. Like, I don't agree with you. I'm fully pro-life. And they didn't want to stay on my channel because of it. And I'm really glad that that video went up at the same time that I was reading this, because this talks a lot about how, well, in particular, she talks about the States and how divisive, is that the right word? Divisive the States are, where it's just you don't listen to one another, and it doesn't end up being a dialogue in any way. And how are we supposed to move forward if we don't actually talk to each other? So I really like that. And she also talks about the importance of, owning your values and sticking up for your values at the same time. You can do it in a respectful way. So I'm glad that I read this. She really talks about, when you dehumanize someone from the other side with other ideas, you really miss out, and it's actually incredibly dangerous to do that. And that, I think, is something that's missing a lot of the time. Like, left and right, there's a lot of like us against you. And she talks about, how like the same person that you're completely disregarding as a valued human being might be the person down the street who like brings you cookies when you first arrive to your neighborhood. Not that anyone does that anymore, but you know what I mean. They might be still really kind, but you've like blocked them out in some way in your mind. And I liked that. I thought I learned a lot from this myself, because I've definitely seen within me that I can definitely be us against them with certain beliefs, because I feel so strongly about things, and I'm very afraid of us sliding back with our values. and with our rights. I'm very afraid of that. That said, I still believe strongly, I'm definitely pro-choice. This book did not change that. I still have the courage to stand alone. If I was going to stand alone, I was going to be totally fine with that. But I did learn a lot from this, so I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoy Brené Brown a lot. Okay, so now it's time to get to the thrillers. This is going from least favorite to most favorite. So, first up is Dead Woman Walking by Sharon Bolton. This book is about a group of people actually who set out on this hot air balloon ride, which is supposed to be like lovely and peaceful and beautiful, and until it crashes. But in the middle of the crash, they look down into the Scottish like border, and they see a man kill a woman. So they witness that. The man looks up, sees them, and is trying to hunt this hot air balloon down. When it crashes, there is only one survivor of the crash, and he's on the hunt for her. I thought I was going to really like this book, and even at the beginning I was really enjoying it. But it doesn't anywhere talk about the detective that's in here. So what ends up happening is you read from the perspective of the woman being chased, and then you read from the perspective of the detective. And basically all of the detective part was just saying, this is what's happening to that woman. And I'm like, but I just read that. Why are we basically rewriting that section? It felt like lazy writing to me. And I didn't like that. I liked her writing style. I just don't like detective stuff, especially in that way. It did feel lazy. So I would not recommend this in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately. Next is a Karin Slaughter. It's been a hot second since I've read a Karin Slaughter. I listened to Coptown, and this is about a small town that has basically mostly white cops, not entirely, but mostly, and they're insanely racist, and insanely homophobic, insanely misogynistic, and somebody is killing the cops in Coptown. And we follow 2 women on the force who are dealing with the misogyny and are also trying to track down this killer. It was fine. I was not in love with this. I think what I struggled with was, well, the racism, homophobia, and misogyny was really hard to read. I'm going to be honest. It was really, really hard to read. She doesn't hold back. Karin Slaughter is not someone who holds back, and it was unsettling and uncomfortable. It was just mostly uncomfortable, where you're like, stop saying that. Like, I want to punch you in the face. And then you're kind of like, well, I don't really mind that they're all dying, because it's just that bad. The thing that I was missing in this that I love about Karin Slaughter is she writes characters that you feel for. Like, I've cried reading a Karin Slaughter before. Like, no other thriller author has ever made me cry. But that was missing here. I was missing really good character development. In the end, the person who did it, I was kind of like, who is that again? Like, I was just like, whatever. I didn't care. I actually forget now who it was. So I don't recommend this. It's not bad though. Like, it's still Karin Slaughter. She's still a great writer. So I gave it 3 stars, but I was just not completely blown away. As you can tell, it's like a mixed bag here. It's a weird month. But we're saving the best for last for thrillers. And this thriller is not even out yet. It's coming out in July. I think it's the thriller of the summer, and it's Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This, I've said repeatedly on my channel, This does give me Rosemary's Baby vibes, but I do feel like I need to clarify, there are no babies in this. There's nobody pregnant in this. It's the apartment building itself and the interesting characters that live there, that remind me of Rosemary's Baby. Lock Every Door is about an apartment sitter who's really broke. She needs a job desperately, and she agrees to apartment sit for one of the most prestigious apartments in New York City called the Bartholomew. And she does, and she realizes there are tons of other apartment sitters there. And then things start going awry. There's something wrong with the building. There's something wrong with the tenants. What is happening here? There's so many rules that she needs to follow in order to stay there. Like she has to stay every single night at the Bartholomew. She has no choice. She can't have visitors. And so there's this isolation that happens. And it is so unsettling. This is like horror meets thriller. Maybe thriller meets horror. Because it is more thrillery than horror-y. But I absolutely loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I really think, I haven't read a ton of like new release thrillers yet, but I think thus far that Lock Every Door is absolutely the thriller of the summer. It's going to be so hard to beat this. I loved it. So yeah, this one comes out July 2nd. So if you're needing a good thriller for summer, oh my, I cannot recommend this enough. It was that good. It was so good. Oh, I'm so glad we landed on a high, or ended on a high, I should say, because there were a few of them in there that I was like, ooh, I want to talk about them, but I don't. Let me know in the comments below what you read this May and what was your favorite book. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Okay, bye guys.